And this next tune in the countdown is by one of the most dynamic acts in the music business today. They're a husband and wife team. The lady sings the songs, the man plays the music. And the show they bring on stage is really great. They draw rave reviews and turn away crowds, whether they're playing to mainstream America on a national TV show, or turning on the younger set in contemporary nightclubs, or entertaining black audiences on the soul circuit. While his guitar drives the band, she does the lead vocals and the wild dancing backed by a three-girl chorus. And there's not a general news magazine in the country that hasn't done a major photo story on them. At number 55 among the most popular songs of the year, Mr. and Mrs. Ike and Tina Turner.
You know, every now and then I think you might like to hear something from us. Nice and easy.
American Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem with the Top 100 of the Year. Now, a song by a woman who's made one of the biggest comebacks in rock history. It was 9 years ago when she divorced and ended her musical partnership with Ike Turner. She had 36 cents to her name and heavy debts. But after a long uphill struggle, she's back on top. 45 years old now and enjoying the greatest success of her career. With the 67th most popular song of 1984, here's Tina Turner and Better Be Good to Me.
Prisoner of your love. American Top 40.
We're coming to you from Hollywood.
Number 15.
Here's the oldest singer in the survey and one of the most respected. Born 47 years ago in Nutbush, Tennessee, she spread 20 hits across the charts from the early 60s to the mid-70s with her husband, then dropped out of sight when the marriage went bad. But at age 44, she came roaring back to become a superstar of the 80s. What you get is what you see, and we got Tina Turner.
American Top 40.
I'm Shadoe Stevens, and here we are, where the air is thin and bluebirds whistle a cheerful tune, the place where pop dreams are made, number one. And this week, we have a new song on top. The woman who sings it has waited more than 16 years to hit number one since her first chart hit. But that only puts her in second place among women for the great wait. In first place is a woman who first charted back in August 1960 when she recorded a song called A Fool in Love with her husband back then, Ike Turner. More than 2 decades later, in 1984, she finally hit the top when she scored her first number one with What's Love Got to Do with It? And that gave Tina Turner a span of 24 years between her first chart single and her first number one song. And that puts Tina in first place.
Casey's Top 40.
I'm Mark Elliot, sitting in for Casey Kasem. Now, we're up to the latest hit for a superstar with the most famous legs in pop music. Legs she hasn't always liked. If you've seen Tina Turner in action, whether on stage or in her videos, you know that, in the words of ZZ Top, she's got legs and she knows how to use them. Starting back in the 60s, when she was teamed up with ex-husband Ike Turner, Tina was famous for wearing mini skirts and performing high-energy routines with her three-girl backup group, the Ikeettes. Those shows caused more than one observer to echo ZZ Top's sentiments. Tina sure did have legs, they said, and boy, did she know how to use them. And she's used them well over the years, even today at the age of 49. Given all the attention those legs have received, it's kind of surprising that Tina says she wears short dresses to have freedom of movement, not to show off her legs. And while such leggy starlets as Betty Grable and Juliette Prowse were always proud of their legs, Tina told us she actually used to hate hers. In fact, she says she was embarrassed by them. Tina told us, quote, "My legs have brought me a long way, but I remember the days not so long ago when I thought I had the worst legs in the world. I have a short body and long legs like a pony. When I was young, I didn't know how to dress to look good, so my legs made me look silly and out of proportion. They were against me for a long time, but they've certainly made up for it." Well, Tina's legs aren't the only things that have high-kicked their way into the public's attention. Her music has taken her to the top 40 18 times since she first charted in 1960. And that includes her latest single, which climbs 5 notches to number 22 this week. Here's Tina Turner, stepping up to the mic with the legs some call the best.
I call you. Hey, yeah. American Top 40.
You're listening to American Top 40 with The Shadow. And now we're up to the current hit by the woman who taught Mick Jagger how to dance. Well, they weren't exactly formal lessons. Here's the way it went. Back in 1966, this star and her then-guitarist husband were on tour in England with their band, and they shared a bill with a fairly new band called the Rolling Stones. She recalls, "I didn't know who the Stones were. They were just these boys." And Mick was the one who was always standing in the wings watching us. He was a little shy of me, but finally we started having fun. I tried to teach him some dances because he just stands still on stage with a tambourine. He'd try things like the pony or some hip movements backstage, and we'd all just laugh. That's the story from Mick Jagger's dance instructor, the sleek, smooth, electro-charged Tina Turner. And when the Stones toured the U.S. back in 1981, Mick remembered the lady who taught him some of those high-voltage moves and had her open some of their shows to warm up, or most likely heat up the crowd. Mick says, "I learned a lot of things from Tina, and here she is, as hot as ever, at number 27 this week at American Top 40, the best, Tina Turner."
Casey's biggest hits.
A year ago this week, one of the biggest hits in the USA was "I Don't Want to Fight" by a superstar who's fought her way from poverty to the top of the charts not once, but twice. I'll have details and that big hit after this.
Casey's biggest hits.
A year ago this week, one of the biggest hits in the USA was by a superstar who's fought her way from poverty to the top of the charts not once, but twice. This woman grew up in dire poverty in Brownsville, Tennessee, working in the cotton fields. Along with her husband Ike, she became one of the top acts of the 60s and 70s. But when she left her husband in 1976, she walked out without a dime. And it took her 8 years to climb back to the top, which she did in 1984 with songs like "What's Love Got to Do With It" and "Better Be Good to Me." And her comeback seems to have no end, thanks to songs like one of the biggest hits in the USA a year ago this week. Here's Tina Turner with "I Don't Want to Fight."
Casey's biggest hits.
3 years ago this week, one of the biggest hits in the USA was "I Don't Want to Fight," a song written for the soundtrack of an autobiographical film about the woman who sings it. I'll have details and that big hit after this.
Casey's biggest hits.
3 years ago this week, one of the biggest hits in the USA was a song written for the soundtrack of an autobiographical film about the woman who sings it. The film was a major box office hit back in 1993, a highly acclaimed rock bio titled "What's Love Got to Do With It?" It was the story of Tina Turner's highly dramatic, almost unbelievable life. A movie that starred Angela Bassett as Tina and Lawrence Fishburne as her husband, Ike Turner. Along with reprising many of the hits from her career, Tina also recorded several new songs for the film. And 3 years ago this week, one of those new songs was one of the biggest hits in the USA. Here's Tina Turner with "I Don't Want to Fight."
America's top hits.
16 years ago this week, back in 1985, one of the top hits in the USA was by a superstar who recently put on what she says was her last performance. She said goodbye with 116 live performances around the world. Over the past 4 decades, Tina Turner has put on hundreds of shows, performing for millions of fans. But last year, at age 61, she decided it's time to hang up her dancing shoes. Tina called it quits with a final world tour for an audience of more than 3 million fans. She put on her last show in Anaheim, California at the beginning of December 2000. What's next for Tina Turner? Well, she says, quote, "I'm much too creative to just go home and sit on the couch." But she also says that after that long tour, going home for a while sounds pretty good. Quote, "Just to be in my own kitchen, in my own sitting room. It means a lot to the soul." 6 years ago this week, Tina Turner had one of the top hits in the USA. Here's "We Don't Need Another Hero."